This is Furniture Redesigned by MBM. Hello out there and welcome back to Furniture Redesign. I am Mary and this is the project that we'll be working on for today. Now this piece I got for free. This is a Dixie furniture piece. It has really lovely lines and also the hardware is in good shape with no missing pieces. However, I'm not sure if the pieces are brass or not. So we're going to take them off and clean them up. Also, if I have to, I'll go back and use gilding wax or spray paint to brighten them up. Now the top of the drawer has a texture to it. Now I've looked and I don't think it is a veneer top. I don't see it as being a veneer. But it is a solid wood, but it has a stamped in grain to it. But we're going to start by taking the drawers out, taking the hardware off, and cleaning up the piece. I have all my hardware off and I'm going to place it in this little plastic container so I don't lose any of the pieces. Then I'm going to go right ahead and pull all the garbage out of the drawers. Now in doing so, I see some of the pieces to the drawer is broken, but that's okay. We're going to make repairs where we need to make repairs and finish washing the piece down. To let you know, I'm just using dish soap and warm water with an abrasive pad to scrub down the piece. Before I begin washing the top drawers, I have to take the center piece off. I use a screwdriver to push under it and a rubber mallet to hit it so that the nails will loosen and come out. I'll add these decorative pieces with the pulls because I'm not sure whether I'll use them or not. Now this piece does have a mirror. It is a 3-piece mirror. It's one of those that have the sides that fold in. So I will be doing it as well, but I won't be doing it on camera. Now that it's all clean, I see that there is a screw that's not screwed all the way in. It's also a bit too long, so I'm going to remove this screw and replace it with a shorter screw for that proper fit. Then I've also found a piece of hardware that was in the bottom, and as it stands, this goes in drawer number 4. So I'm just going to add this piece of hardware back to drawer number 4. I'm done with my washing, but look at the water. Really dirty. But now we're ready to rinse. So let's get some fresh water. I fill my bucket with fresh, clean, warm water, and now it's time to rinse away all of the soap. Now that my piece is washed and clean, I want to flip my dresser over because I'm not digging these round legs that are on the piece. I want to give it a more modern look. So I'm going to flip it over. There is 2 screws on the bottom of each leg. So I'm going to remove those screws. I removed the 2 screws from all 4 legs, but the leg would not release. So I'm going to flip it over on the top. I made sure that the floor protector guide was off as well and made sure there wasn't a screw underneath. but it still wouldn't come off. So I took my rubber mallet, hit the leg a couple of times, and it loosened. It was a wooden dowel that was holding it in. So I just hammered and hammered on each one of the legs until I got the dowel to release. While my dresser is upside down, I make sure that I clean any dust and dust bunnies that's left behind. Also, when I took the wooden dowel off, there was a piece of wood that came off. So I grabbed my wood glue and I'm going to glue that back in place. Also, the center support, it should have a leg there, and I found that that wood was split. So I took my wood glue and I added wood glue underneath. I'll use a clamp to hold it in place until the wood dries. Most people will use a syringe, but I don't have a wood glue syringe, so I used this flat spoon to spread the glue underneath, wiping away excess. And then I took this clamp, clamped it into place until it dries. Again, wiping away any excess glue. While the glue is drying, these are the 6-inch legs that I'm going to use on my dresser, but they come pre-stained. So what I'm going to do is just take my sander and I'm going to sand away the finish on the legs so they can become the same color that I use on the top of the dresser. And it's all complete. Now I just have to do it 3 more times. All 4 have been sanded. I'm using a damp cloth to wipe away any dust and debris from the legs. Now it's time to attach the hardware to the dresser. I'll use the same hole where the dowels were located. I'll insert the hardware, use these screws that came with the hardware to screw the hardware down. Because this is a hardwood, you should make pilot holes. If you don't make pilot holes, you want to put the screw in slow and easy, backing out when necessary and then pushing forward. I then screw in all 4 legs. I will have to cut a block 6 inches long for the center support leg. I decided to sand the top 3 drawers. I'll stain them the same color that I stained the top of the dresser. So let's get started sanding the 3 top drawers. I'll be using a 80 grit sandpaper to get started. To remove stain from the drawers, I'll be using my Black & Decker orbitable sander to get started. Because of the curved front on the drawers, you want to make sure you keep the sander moving constantly so that you don't sand too much in the middle. Now I'm going to take that same 80 grit sandpaper and go along the ridges of the drawers by hand. Again, I'm starting with that 80 grit sandpaper on the top of the dresser. Now I'm using my sanding block with 150 grit sandpaper, and I'm going to sand the top along with all the edges of the dresser. Now I'm going back to my orbiter sander. I'm using the higher grit, the 220 grit, to smooth out any imperfections that's left in the wood. Even though I'm outside, I'm still wearing a mask to protect my lungs. I'll also use the sander to scrub up the rest of my dresser as well as the other drawers. This is a very important step because it will give your paint something to adhere to. I'll use my hand sander to reach all the corners that I couldn't reach with my sander. I was forced to the inside because of the weather. I've already added my first coat of primer, and now I'm starting to add my second coat. I am using the Zinsser 123 primer. I sand in between the coats and wipe down with a damp cloth. And now I'm doing that second coat. If you're thinking this primer looks a little gray, you're right. I had a little gray primer left in a can. I didn't want it to dry out, so I just added it with the white. Now it's fun time. Time for the paint. We'll be using today Diamond Hard paint in the color Serenity. I've already poured my paint into a container, and I'll be using my short handle angle brush, and I also have a round brush. And we're going to begin at the bottom on the side, painting the piece. Because the bottom of the dresser has these scalloped edges, I'm using more of a dry brush. I'm doing this to keep paint from running down between the scallops. Also, to let you know, Diamond Hard is an enamel paint, so it does have leveling qualities. You put it on lightly, and it doesn't look so great the first coverage, but the second coat goes on really smooth and looks very nice. You might have to go in and do a third coat if you're doing a dark color to color in any areas that you might have missed. Also, when using enamel paint, it doesn't require a top coat, but there is a curing time. Have the first coat of paint on the dresser and the drawers. I'm going to let it dry, and we'll be back for the second coat. As you can see, I tied my paintbrush up in a plastic bag, and now it's time for that second coat of paint. I'm going to continue adding my second coat of paint, let it dry, and we'll come back for the next step. Now it's time to condition the wood. Today I'll be using Pre-Stain Conditioner by Wax. I'll be using a lint-free cloth to apply it to the top of the dresser as well as the 3 drawers that I'll be staining. It's been about half an hour since I applied the pre-stain. It is dry, and now I'm ready to add my stain. Today I'm using Hickory Stain by Wax. This is the all-in-one, the stain and the top coat built in. I'm using a lint-free cloth to apply my stain. I use a paper towel to wipe off any excess stain. remembering to stain my legs and not forgetting my drawer fronts. Now I'm ready to put a top coat. I don't need to, but I just like to have that extra protection just in case. So I have on wipe-on poly and a clear satin by Wax. And I have a sponge applicator, and I'm just going to put the poly on the piece and use my applicator to rub it in. And as you notice, I'm not wearing any gloves. This is because this is a water-based product. It's been about 3 hours and my first coat of top coat is dry. Now I want to lightly sand it with some 220 grit sandpaper. I'll wipe it down and then we'll be ready to add a second coat of polyurethane. Just as I was about to put the drawers in, I found a track that was loose on the drawer. So I pulled out some 1/2-inch screws and I am going to put the track back in place. Now that my drawers are back in, it's time to clean the hardware. I have white vinegar and baking soda. I'm gonna boil them for 30 minutes and then I'll take them out and clean them with an abrasive pad. I decided to add gilding wax to my hardware. This is what it was looking like, and this is what it looks like with a little gilding wax, without and with. Not a big change, but just enough. So I'm going to continue adding gilding wax to the rest of my hardware. If you're interested, this is a look at the gilding wax that I got. I did get this from Amazon in the gold color, and I will leave a link to it in the description box. Not only will I leave the link to the gilding wax, but any other things that I've used in this video will be in that description box. Also, if you have questions or comments, don't forget to leave those as well. Hello everyone, I'm Mary and my dresser is complete. It turned out absolutely beautiful. As you all know, this is a new channel and I need your help. This is my second video, and if you've enjoyed it as much as I have enjoyed bringing it to you, you want to make sure you give me a thumbs up. Don't forget the subscribe button so that you'll be aware of all my upcoming videos. Also, make sure you share this video with your friends and family. And please come back to see what I have for you next. And now, the moment that you've all been waiting for. Now remember I told you that it did come with a mirror and I did it off camera? Well, here's that mirror. I used the hickory stain and rubbed it on the onlays or decals that's on the mirror. This was truly a labor of love. It took me 3 days and about 11 hours to complete the project. Now I did separate the mirror and this is what it looks like with just a center part. Now my husband thinks it should stay like this, but I kind of like the trifold. Let me know, what do you think? Let me say thank you all for watching. Be blessed, everyone, and I'll see you in the next video.